Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Story Archives. I'm your host, Mario Busto, alongside
the other host, Zachary Newton. Welcome back to Three Body Problem.
We're back. Zach stole the thunder, per usual, on Three Body Problems intro. And we're back with episode 7, titled Only Advance. Thoughts on the episode, Zach? There's only one more to go.
Well, very depressing episode overall. But I do think it kind of sets us up good for episode 8. And I feel like now I finally know where this season is going and maybe where we're gonna get left off. But I'm amazed that it took all the way up to well, I guess the second to last episode for us to kind of figure that out.
Depressing episode, Zach. I don't know what's depressing about an episode where one of our core characters gets his brain taken out to be used as a probe that will almost inevitably end up to him being tortured by aliens, more than likely.
That and our other popular character here, Ye, who's going to kill herself or get killed. So
yeah, I don't know if she's gonna die yet or not.
It's unknown. There was no body.
Well, if she's dead, then she couldn't go through with whatever her ideas were to disrupt the Santee. Unfortunately, she took Collins with her. She essentially sealed Collins' fate by letting him know that she was aware that he was tailing her the entire time. And Tatiana, who seems to be almost omnipresent on Earth, is able to just move to China alongside Ye and just be ready for all of that, I guess, because she's now found her second purpose in life as the Santee's core enforcer, it seems.
I feel like that's her core purpose, not even her second purpose in life. That's all we've ever seen her do is be the enforcer here. And I would imagine, though, that she could get around Earth pretty easily when you have this supercomputer like hovering over everybody's head and can just, like, oh, you need a ticket. All right, here's a ticket. Oh, you need to disappear from that camera. Here you go. So that I didn't find too shocking.
Did you like the way Will went out in this episode? I mean, he starts off the episode with kind of this just insistent desire to always be sort of the guy who never, I want to say, like, not speaks up for himself, but I don't know. I mean, that might be a little too harsh, but we start the episode by finding out he spent $19.5 million on a star that he's dedicated to Jin. Then his good for nothing family comes by to ask for, not to see how he's doing really, but just to ask for his side of the mother's inheritance. And then it ends pretty much with just, I think, kind of I want to say I'm taking a very cynical read on Jin's purpose of going to the hospital. I know she went there to supposedly talk him out of being the probe, but I think she very much knew that by her going, she would ultimately get what she knew was what she needed, right? Which was to get him to be the probe. So I feel like she actively knew that her going there would inevitably lead to Will reading her and knowing that they have no other prospects, that he's the perfect prospect for it. And that his love for her, she pretty much abused his love for her in a way that he would do anything for her. And that's pretty much why he says yes, because it's that conversation with Jin where he's able to read that she thinks it's actually, in my opinion, she kind of thinks it's a good idea in a sense for him to go.
Yeah. I mean,
or that he's the perfect candidate.
Cynical as it may be, I mean, I do think you're right? Like, although I will say that's like the one thing that really kind of bugged me about this episode was the line where he was like, we need somebody who's dying. You know anybody like that? I was like, really? Like, that's how we're going to get to Will? I know that Will's the selected individual here. I wasn't a fan of the line.
Well, we did talk about that a little bit, that we thought maybe Will might be the guy.
Yeah.
I think you specifically said he doesn't have much to live for, so why not just...
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's my issue with it all, is that it's like he still goes off like as like almost kind of like a firework that you're expecting to explode into a huge explosion and like a huge show, and it just kind of goes and it just kind of like fizzles.
It's a dud.
Yeah, it's a dud. It just doesn't really. It's like a bottle rocket. You're expecting like a grand finale for Will, and he probably will get it, right?
Yeah.
Although it is a little bit odd to see that, you know, it's not actually going to be Will's body drifting through space. It's literally going to be his brain. So unless the aliens reincarnate him into his physical being again, right? He then becomes the most epic human in human history at that point. So,
I mean, look, I don't think it's the end of us seeing Will or the actor that portrays Will, right? Like, I mean, I think we're going to continue to see him in his, like, subconscious or whatever you want to call it. Like, for example, there's the moment where he's like floating in his little boat, and then the rain stops. I'm assuming that means they chopped his head off.
They chopped his head off,
or whatever. I don't know that they so much chopped his head off as they removed his brain from
top of his skull,
his head.
And just
yeah. I think that'd be a little gruesome.
Did Saul stand there and watch the whole thing? Like,
yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. Best friend, mate.
Dark,
I mean,
man.
If I'm ever gonna get my brain removed, I hope you stand
watch
there over me.
The whole thing?
Yeah, watch the whole thing.
Do you think Jin was running there to like, don't do it? You gave me this $20 million star. I'm here to confess my love to you. Because if she was going to change her mind, that's extra douchey. It makes me even more cynical about what her initial intentions were. Because if your initial intent, you know, wasn't to make him stay, then don't change your mind now that he gave you this star. I mean, she had to know that he's in love with her.
I feel like you'd have to be kind of blind to not know. I mean, especially when all of the friends know, right? Like, I feel like I'm like watching like a Friends episode. Like, everybody knows Ross likes Rachel.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've watched it enough to get that, but whatever.
Oh, dude, my mom and my sister were obsessed with Friends.
Oh, okay. All right. That's why you hate it. I'm just kidding.
I don't hate it. I just think the Seinfeld Friends debate, I think Seinfeld is the superior show. But
I've started watching Seinfeld, by the way. I haven't gotten too far into it, but
it's fun. It's fun.
I don't think Jen was running there to talk him out of it. I just feel like she was running there to say goodbye, like to get closure, because like there's that tension there that she's not gonna ever be able to say, as far as we know, goodbye to him or anything else. They just kind of left it off on a weird note. So I didn't think there was like a switch where she was like, oh no, don't go, like he's gonna die anyways.
Is there an odd love triangle going on here between like Will, Raj, and Wade for Jin's attention and affection? Because you kind of get like Will, who's kind of like the, you know, the lover in the dark, right? He doesn't want. He's like the Batman of lovers, right? He just doesn't want anybody to know his, you know, his secret identity. And then you got Raj, who's kind of like he's kind of like downplaying and side talking the guy who might be behind the star because he thinks it's Wade. Because honestly, who the hell else could it be, right? Yeah. The only person who could have been was Jack, and nobody knew that Jack gave half of his fortune to Will. And then you have Wade, who's kind of like also, I don't know. He's not. I'm not saying I don't think he's into Jin, by the way, but he does have that moment where he says, "Sell the star, it's worthless." You know, you know, take the money you get. You know what I mean? He's like a douche, but also affectionate in some way of like saying, "Hey, go see Will." But you know, if he knew that, you think he could have told her a little bit earlier, so that she could have gotten there in time before they freaking removed his brain from his skull.
Maybe, but who knows? There's probably a reason for that. Just like everything that Wade does, like even if you think like, oh, this isn't going in his direction, like what? Will's not going to sign this allegiance to the human race document. No, that's exactly what I wanted. He's our guy because he's not our guy. Like,
well, I was going to make a comment. Okay. You hated his line. They said, oh, you know, preferably somebody who's dying. Just a theory. Not that he knew that they were going to need to send a probe into space, because that's where my theory falls apart. But what if Will doesn't have cancer? And maybe this whole crew has a purpose, right? Because you have Jin, who's like leading the staircase project pretty much, right? Yeah. You have Auggie, who's helping with the nuclear sales and her nanofibers, which pretty much sliced everybody in half in the Oregon quarters on Judgment Day, right? Yeah. You got Saul, who's being mobilized here by Ye. He's kind of the wild card here. It's probably maybe the highlight of the episode, is that we're finally going to get some Saul action. And then you got Will, who's like the useful sacrifice. Jack, unfortunately, actually, you know, Jack was he was the useful victim, because they were able to find out that the way these people kill, that they can't enforce at all times. They need to literally send somebody to kill. So that's pretty much was Jack's core purpose. Unfortunately, all of his money is now gone, and they make that very clear at the start of this episode. So there is no factor, there is no time that is going to come into play other than Will's brain sailing past that star at some point on his journey near the Santee.
So you're saying that you think Will does not have cancer, and it's just like they're faking it?
I don't believe that. I'm just saying if Wade, who everything is going his way, he seems to have had a plan for a plan for a plan of a plan, right?
Pretty much. You might have missed a plan, but yeah.
And he's determined to say that he is the only man, and not just now, not just in present day, he's the only man zooming out 400 years from now who is the one to lead this project or to oversee this plan. Is he that above? He sliced almost 1,000 children in quarters on Judgment Day because he needed a hard drive. Is he that far above lying about somebody's prognosis and getting everybody to lie about it because he needed a brain that was specifically trained in physics and blah blah blah, right? That wasn't working on any sort of useful research, right? He was teaching kids, he's equipping the next generation, but he's not working in the particle accelerator department, right? So he's not actively working on something. So that's his brain that's trained. Maybe he's judging him as being a little bit weak-willed. This is a guy who doesn't make a move on the girl he's in love with no matter what. He's very willing to die. Maybe he's like saying, if I gave that guy a cancer diagnosis, he would be very willingly to sign up. And we could use his girl, who I'm going to hire, and I'm going to brainwash her by giving her this term only advance over and over again so that she knows to only advance even in the face of difficult decisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it, but I'm saying it.
That is one hell of a conspiracy theory. I do not think Wade is above it, but I don't think for a moment that like this is something that he's played a role in. We know that Will has gotten a second opinion, so he has ventured out there. And I mean, the guy had $20 million. Like, I feel like he probably went to some good doctors.
He didn't use any of it on his.
Not that we're aware of. But yeah,
he did spend $19.5 million. So there's 500,000 that maybe I would hope he gave to somebody.
Not his family. I wouldn't give a dime to those people. That was, I'd be like, what? That's what you came here for?
Presumably his entire family, at least his mother and father are gone because his deadbeat sister shows up with her husband and he makes all the excuses in the world about how his job took him to Spain and Dubai, and then he breaks down the deep intricacies of digital marketing and why he could never visit his family, which I thought overall, right, that's perfectly a valid excuse if this man is supporting his family and having to move to different countries. That does not prevent you from being a good family member, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can still make calls and check in on people and be a good friend and be a good family member. So to be a piece of shit because of that is just your choice to be a piece of shit, right?
Yeah.
But it was more of just the excuse making for his lack of, I guess, being a present brother-in-law and his sister being, I don't even know if she is, because they really didn't spend too much time.
No, it was really short.
But they really leave a bad taste in your mouth when they're there at his deathbed, pretty much. Not to see how he's doing. Not to spend any more time there than they need to. They didn't spend like half an episode there kind of shooting the breeze before they dropped the hammer. No, he knew why they were there. And he obliged them pretty much. He pretty much like wiped his hands clean almost. It wasn't, to me, I didn't see that as pathetic. I actually saw that kind of as like maybe the ultimate strength in a way, right? It was kind of like, it was almost a way of saying, if this is how you want your last interaction with me to be, I'm giving it to you. Like if all I am to you is a dollar sign, this is my last act of love. I'm going to give you the money that you want for your family. I'm going to like literally look past your lack of love for me, and here's what I'm going to give to you. So I actually found that to be the strong, like the whole episode. It's just not a strength that's celebrated in popular culture. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to when it's because you're dying. I kind of felt like that was just something else to help us solidify this feeling of Will's distrust in humanity. Like he's not here for everybody else because nobody's here for him. The only people, ironically, that I guess ever are is been Jin who's the one sending him away, and Saul. That's it.
Jin, look, Saul's a great friend, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Saul's a great friend. Jin is not a good friend from what we've seen at this part of the show, right? But granted, you also have to see it from maybe Jin's perspective here as well. Like, she has a boyfriend, right?
Mm-hmm.
She really has no reason to be hanging out with a guy who's head over heels in love with her.
No.
If you think about it. It's not putting Raj in a great spot either. It's not really respecting that relationship. Not that these people seem to care about that. Raj is very much absent himself. We only see him in glimpses for the most part. And they have about as much chemistry as, name two things that don't have chemistry.
I don't know, an orange and an apple. How about that one?
Yeah, a positive and a negative. A neutron and what is it? A proton and an electron. Don't those separate?
Dude, you just went way over my head. I don't know.
Anyways, any comments on everything I just said?
Well, I mean, you're basically saying that Jin has no business hanging out with Will. I mean,
no, I'm saying that she hasn't highlighted herself to be a very good friend, because the only two times she has gone to see Will has been because she needed two specific things. The first was she needed to recruit Auggie to build a nuclear sail. Okay. Yeah, it was delightful. She folded some origami by the beach and sailed it in the water. Fantastic.
Yeah.
She brought him a goldfish. Okay, cool. Awesome. The second time she visits him, I need your brain. You need to go to space. She's communicating that by not communicating it. Yeah. Everyone's going to write in. Everyone who's listening to this podcast is going to write in and say, no, in the book, Jin doesn't do that. I'm like, well, I'm telling you right now. If you know, let's just use a real world example. Let's use more of a parental relationship. If you know your mother or your father would take the shirt off their back for you and give it to you, and you go to their house and you know that you don't have a pot to piss on, you don't have any more shirts, okay? And you tell them, listen, this is my last shirt, but don't give me your shirt because that means you guys are gonna never have a shirt ever again. You're probably gonna die from it. That parent's going to literally give you their shirt. By you saying don't do it, they're going to do it. And Jin is too smart to not know that was going to be the outcome. So I'm sorry, but the subtext is there. The subtext is there.
If she wanted, a good friend.
If she didn't want Will to be the probe, then she doesn't go to the hospital.
Well, clearly, if she didn't want Will to be the probe, she shouldn't have ever brought up his name. It's not even that she shouldn't have gone to the hospital. She shouldn't have volunteered Will's name to Wade.
No, she didn't. She didn't. Wade already knew. He looks at her in that room. He says,
"I know."
Anybody? That's literally the line.
That's why I hated it. I hated that part of the episode. It was my least favorite.
Wade was going there regardless. Wade was going there regardless.
Well, look, let Wade go there. Don't go yourself.
Yeah, I agree.
That's it. At the very least.
I don't know what's going on with Auggie though. Auggie now is like she's having an existential crisis. That like the people who get shit on are gonna always be the people who get stepped on. They're always gonna be the people who get taken advantage of. And by the way, I agree with that take. That's kind of just the way things tend to go. And yes, there are times where you think that that's not the case, but there always seems to be a class of people who are the ones who get stepped on, in a sense. Yeah. Right? And you can see where Augie's coming from in that perspective. She goes like on a whole monologue about how she got into this work because she saw what the world did to her family. And it sounded very eerily reminiscent of Ye,
very
of Ye's upbringing in China, which, by the way, I don't agree with every take that Augie's saying there. But what I do agree with what she did was that she open sourced all of the research regarding the nanofiber technology to WikiLeaks. And it's probably the most honorable thing she did because of a technology like that. And again, when you open source it, it's going to get into good hands and into bad hands.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
But, there's a lot to be said that she didn't want it to be, I guess, just something used as a weapon, right? Maybe she wanted people to be able to use it for good as well. Although I don't know what good those nanofibers, like what can those nanofibers be used for? I'm assuming some crazy surgical uses.
I would imagine that. Like, I don't know if they're like, are they like super? I mean, clearly they're super strong.
Engineering.
So like, yeah, I would imagine. But then at the same time, it's like so tiny. Like,
you know what's crazy is that like this show kind of glosses over the fact that Auggie has created something so incredibly groundbreaking that she would become the wealthiest person in the world.
That's true.
If somebody created nanofibers in today's world and properly owned it, they would become the wealthiest person in the world. I would assume. Now, would we sleep at night knowing that there could be invisible strings that could cut us at any moment?
Anywhere, just cutting through your house. You're just walking down your stairs. Oh, shoot, my knees are...
No!
They're missing. Yeah, I don't know if she would even own the rights to it, though, because I don't know, like, if she owns her work, because there was I forget the name of the guy, but they'd be, like, funding her projects and her work or whatever. So I'm sure that they have some stake in ownership or something like that of whatever she does.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
She did have a heavy stake in it, though. They kind of moved on without her because, I mean, who can understand a girl who's been working on this research for so long? They're throwing it all away because you had a countdown in your head that none of us could see, you know?
Yeah, it sounds like a mental breakdown.
Like, I kind of get it. I get why they want to move forward with it. They weren't there in Panama. They didn't see people getting sliced in quarters, you know?
No.
Granted, they are moving on without her. And this guy wanted her to be involved. However, he also is a prick because he threatened to revoke her citizenship, right?
Yep.
We haven't talked about it, Zach, but it's probably our favorite topic of all time because this show is heading head first, nosediving straight into a 400-year time skip because we saw that they have developed cryosleep.
I know.
And they have in perfect time for the Planet of the Apes that's coming out this Friday, the fourth movie, and which, by the way, the trilogy's on sale on Apple, on the Apple Store. If you want to buy it, it's $20. I bought it for myself today.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
I might do that.
$20 all three films. I bought them. They've managed to test it out on a chimp, and the chimp you think is fine. You know, and until it eats a banana. The whole time when the chimp was eating the banana, I said, I don't think you're supposed to eat that quickly after arising from cryosleep.
Or swimming.
And sure enough, that chimp threw up everywhere.
Yeah.
And but the cryosleep seems to work, and the TLDR, the moral of the story is that Wade and probably all the core leadership of the Staircase Project are going to be using this cryosleep technology to fall asleep for like pretty much months at a time to wake up like every week or so or something like that, like once a week.
I don't
know. It'll probably zoom out and eventually become that, which at that point, I don't know what this show turns into. I don't know if everybody's going into cryosleep. Is Saul going into cryosleep? Is Auggie going into cryosleep? Or is it just going to be Jin, Wade, and Raj? We will find out, but it definitely, we could get into some shaky territory here from a narrative standpoint if it's not done right.
I'm getting some Foundation vibes over here with this episode and how everything's transpired. I'm okay with this whole cryosleep being introduced as a device to let us have a character that we really like 400 years in the future, but I really, really do not want to see there be some sort of split timeline where there's like Wade in the future and then there's like Saul in the past, and I'm not for that.
Did you know the director of this episode was Jeremy Podeswa? He directed like 6 episodes of Game of Thrones, like in the latter seasons, like from season 5 onward.
Oh.
He just to give you the examples of the episodes that he directed season 5, 2 episodes. He did Kill the Boy, which, let me see.
Kill the Boy.
Yeah, that's the episode that Daenerys rounds up all the rich families and introduces them to her dragons.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all. I think that's also the episode where Jorah Mormont gets touched by that stone thing, where he gets that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
He also did the episode where, remember the Lord, like the Lord who got locked in the vault, I think. No, I think that was too early.
I know what you're talking about, but this is getting a little cryptic, trying to not say the details of the episode.
He directed The Red Woman, which is the episode that I believe Jon Snow. It's either the episode before he comes back to life or the one that he comes back to life. He did the episode where Bran trains with the three-eyed raven. And then he did he do the final episode of Game of Thrones?
I don't know if that's that's not one to put in your tool belt.
No. He did the mid-season finale of season 7. I think there was a mid-season finale for season 7, and that's the episode where at the end, I think that's the episode where you see the dragon take down the wall. Anyways.
Okay. Interesting.
All right. Back to the show and the time jump here. But that guy's he is a veteran, like legendary actor from Game of Thrones. I just wanted to make a comment on that. He also directed some episodes of that show you've watched, The Handmaid's Tale, which I have yet to catch up on. So he's directed some of that too. He has a hell of a resume. I mean, it's pretty impressive. And that just shows you the level of quality directors that they're calling upon for Three Body Problem is kind of the moral of the story here.
Yeah.
Are you scared of the time skip? I was a little, I was both a little nervous about it and also a little bit relieved to know that I'm going to be able to see Wade for 400 years.
Yeah. I don't know that I'm like nervous necessarily, but it's trying to find the balance, like to do a time jump, right? Because you can't cover 400 years of this show. To do it tastefully, where it doesn't feel like you went too far. Like I almost feel like jumping 400 years into the future might be too much too fast. Like I imagine like you're probably gonna want to stop off at some point when Will makes it to the Santee. Like that's got to be a whole thing. So I don't know. I'm open to it. I just don't want to do this back and forth between two different timelines and have those things be puzzle pieces put together. I really liked the mystery that we had going on in this season and the way that everything's been revealed and or uncovered. Like I felt like it was very engaging. Like I didn't need to be like seeing a whole ton of yay back in the day. Like I was glad with the amount of it that we got in this season.
Something we haven't talked about is Wade sort of has this epiphany that only Will Downing knows who Will Downing truly is. And he also has that epiphany that I guess the only knowledge you can keep secret is the knowledge that only you know, right? Now, he does make a mysterious call, and we are not told who he calls. And he's asking this person to lead a project.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's going to be a huge thing in season 2. I don't think that's something we'll see again in the final episode of this season. In fact, I'm absolutely, empty-minded when it comes to understanding or being able to predict what's going to occur in this final episode of the season. I don't know if you feel the same way, but what did you think of that call, and what do you think that's for? Because it was directly after his little epiphany.
I don't know that I feel like I have some idea of what's going to happen, but part of me just feels like it's just kind of like, no, duh, of course that's going to happen. Like there's going to be some sort of launch where Will ends up going into space. Like it's inevitable. It's got to happen before we get to season 2.
Yeah.
I can't fathom what the mission would be. Just like everything Wade seems to do, he's at least 2 or 3 steps ahead of us. So, I'm not sure. The thing that I'm really interested in though is how, if we're sending Will up to space to go to the Santee, like how are we supposed to get any data back about the Santee? This doesn't feel like a reconnaissance mission.
I'm still trying to figure out what on earth or what the grand purpose of that mission is going to be. Unless they're planting like a secret nuclear bomb inside of his brain. I don't know, who knows. I have no idea. He did want a human who was not necessarily fully on the human side, right? He wanted somebody who was a deep thinker, who was a little bit open-minded as to maybe the Santee might be better, and that's what should allure the Santee to picking up the brain. I have no idea what that's going to lead to. But would I be surprised if episode 8 time skips 400 years? No, like at the very end of it. Like the episode
like
8 just
cliffhanger.
Yeah, like episode 8 ends with like the brain being sucked in by the ship or something, you know? I don't know. I don't know. I could see it. I just don't think it's gonna happen that way.
I could see it too.
We're definitely not gonna move like in a linear, like in a very like year to year fashion from here. It's gonna be like
we're gonna have to have a time jump.
It'll be like a couple years later. Maybe we'll get like a few years later, and then everybody goes into the cryopods, and then season 2 hits, and it's 400 years later. There's flying cars everywhere, and you know.
Yeah.
You know,
even though this episode overall was kind of depressing, it like I still feel like we're kind of like stepping up the ladder here, which no pun intended, I guess, with the ladder project, staircase, whatever. It's the same thing. Hey, look, man, I've been up and down stairs and ladders. My legs hurt the same all day ever since I've moved in here. Yeah, what else was I gonna say there? I lost my train of thought. No, no. Every episode still feels like it's getting better. Like I'm enjoying the build up here. I'm enjoying the mystery. Really, like I have no clue. I don't think Ye is dead yet. Like I feel like you're right. Like she has some unfinished mission. Like there's not a lot of resolve in this episode. Like just in general, like there's not a lot.
I think there's a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people playing chess right now, except for Will. I think Will is just
he's playing checkers.
He's a martyr for his love of Jin. You know, the Santi obviously have a reason they want her dead. She obviously knows some stuff. She obviously also made you were wrong. So,
about what?
She made a declaration against the Santi. That's pretty much all.
Oh yeah. I was wrong about that.
So they want her dead for some reason because she did literally make a threat to them. And she, let's talk about this a little bit. And, she meets with Saul, and I don't know what the purpose of that conversation was other than to tell Saul to not play with God and that the importance of jokes. But I couldn't parse any sort of secret meaning as to what hint she was leaving him, or maybe it was to go to her house and to find an item in her house. I don't know. I have no idea. I know it was to protect Saul, so she was speaking coded, so that the Santi didn't see him as a threat. She also makes note that he's the smartest. Like Vera always said, he was the smartest of the group, which we've been waiting for all season, right? To see when is he gonna
literally all season.
Yeah, when is he gonna step up and like have his moment of like charged purpose, right? And so it's gonna happen now, and I'm assuming that's what the cliffhanger with Saul's gonna be. He's gonna go back to work at the particle accelerators. I would assume he's put in charge of that at some point. This group is so special that they're all gonna just be in charge of something to some regard. Or maybe he runs off with Auggie. Auggie left the country in this episode, and maybe she went back to Spain, or maybe she went to some place more obscure off the radar that she could get away from the authorities from, because she technically probably did something illegal by open sourcing all of that information. She probably breached some contract, if I had to guess.
Played a role in a bunch of children getting cut up into quarters.
Yeah, but she's not going to answer to those crimes.
No, she's not. But I mean, she's going to mentally battle what happened for some time. So I could understand the desire to get away from people, from everyone. I think Saul. I feel like just going back to work on the particle accelerator is, I don't know if that's enough. I feel like we kind of got enough of his intelligence from that early on in the show, where he was calling out the fact that the science was wrong and nothing makes sense and blah 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 blah. I don't know what's going to happen with that, and I could not decipher any sort of messaging from that joke that Ye told him. I watched it like 3 times. I couldn't figure it out. It was other than the fact that it was a really bad joke.
I think obviously that must have been the purpose, because as we know about the Santi, they don't understand jokes, right? Yeah. They don't understand stories. So she was hiding a meaning of something in that story. I mean, if we think about it, if we do like an open exercise right now, She talked about Einstein waking up in heaven, playing a violin, trying to play music with God, and then God kicked him in the nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if she's doing any sort of exercise there, maybe she's like Einstein in a way. She thought she could play.
That's the closest parallel I can see.
She could play with Santi, and it ended up kicking her in the nuts. The metaphorical nuts.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, your guess is as good as mine with Saul. There seems to be like this theme going on with Clarence. We haven't gotten a lot of Clarence business in the last couple episodes, but we keep getting his spoiled ass son. Pretty much just crapping on the fact that his dad has chosen a career that is saving humanity at the expense of making a good salary. And he lets his father know at every chance or opportunity. He also has a plan to help all the humans escape from Earth for the low price of $40 a month, and or £40, which was obviously like a crap business, right? Like who's come on. If we go into season 2 and that's a successful business, then
it's like layaway, but for your grandchildren or something.
Give me a break.
Just pay $40 a month for 400 years, and we'll get your body off the planet.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know where Clarence's storyline is going from here, other than to make his spoiled son appreciate him as a father. I don't know.
Do you think maybe Clarence is the one that got a special mission?
No, because it wasn't his voice.
Oh, true.
I wish it was him, but it wasn't his voice. That'll be a new character. If I had to guess.
Yeah, I guess I am getting a little nervous the more that we talk about it. Like I want to see more Clarence. I want to see more Saul. But this episode made me feel like the only guy going in cryo sleep is Wade.
No, I think Jin will be joining him as well, if I had to guess. I could be wrong though. I have no idea. Episode ends with obviously Tatiana getting her new purpose. The Sofon appears in her television as she's living a little peaceful life in the woods in her little RV. Will's brain is taken out of his skull after a very heartfelt scene with Saul, which I thought was probably the best scene in the episode. And Ye sees one last sunset in her former Chinese super secret base, right?
Yeah.
And overlooking a nuclear power plant in the distance, and pretty much just like a whole ruined landscape that used to be full of life before, right?
Yeah.
And she's joined by Tatiana, who's this deranged cult member, absolutely justifying any action she does on behalf of the Santi.
Yeah.
And we leave it open-ended there. We don't know if Ye is going to live or not, but if we follow the track record of this show, she should be dead at the start of next episode.
She should be. Although
maybe her last act was Saul. Maybe that was her last idea, was to mobilize Saul. It wasn't for her. It had nothing to do with her. It had more to do with getting Saul active. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally see that being the case. I mean, we did see Jack get obliterated at the end of an episode.
Yes.
So that didn't happen here, but maybe this was her like peaceful death. I don't know. I don't know what is gonna happen to Ye. I don't know if Tatiana's gonna do it. I don't know if she's just gonna let herself jump or what.
We also didn't see Collins die, but I think it's pretty certain that he's dead.
Yeah. I mean, if he's just chilling back there. I mean, also, by the way, like, if he was gonna be up in 10 minutes, like he should have been here like 20 minutes ago. Like Ye's just out there chilling, watching the sunset. I feel like it's been an hour.
I think he was killed shortly after she disappeared into the base.
Must have been.
She was probably there the whole time, just cloaked.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Well, shall we get into categories?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's start with favorite character of the episode.
I kind of want to go Saul here, man. I kind of want to go Saul.
Dude, I thought you were going to pick Will and I was going to zag and pick Saul.
No, I think Saul's the guy who stole a couple scenes. Hell of an actor. Yeah, I guess Will would be second place for me, but It's a performance I don't like to see from Will.
You know? I don't like to see a performance from anybody really, typically, but
yeah.
I'll if you're going Saul, I'm gonna go Will.
Okay.
I mean, I gotta give him some props here. This was his episode.
100%.
Though I do think I agree with you. Saul did steal some scenes here.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, what's your favorite scene?
It has to be the when he has that little touchpad in front of him.
Counting down.
And he just keeps tapping the button, and Saul's trying to stop him from hitting these buttons, and he gets to the fourth, and he just knows, like, this stubborn guy, I can't change his mind. Once he's decided on something, he may be, kind of soft when it comes to pushing his own interest, but once he's decided, you can't tell him nothing.
Yeah, that's true. Every time he would say yes again, Saul just comes back with another, like, worse possibility.
And Saul's spot on. I mean, think about it. If they get in contact with your brain, we're going to find out every weakness that the human species has in it. And he's just willing to do this, right?
Yeah.
But he also doesn't believe in anything else, right? He thinks when he dies, it's going to be just an empty consciousness, right? So his worldview very much is also in a hopeless state, in a sense, right? Where he just thinks when he dies, he's just going to be floating through space the same way as if he were to die of the cancer. So he's like, if I'm going to be either way, I might as well put my brain out there and see what happens.
Floating through space for, if you weren't running into the Santee, probably all of eternity. Like, that's...
Well, maybe not floating, considering he's going to be catapulted by 1,000 synchronized nuclear explosions. And by the way, according to this plan, it's going to be up and ready within weeks. According to Wade, he said that they're going to have the arms ready pretty much within weeks. So I don't know if they covered how long it would take. Maybe an audience member out there could tell us, but I don't know what the estimate was for how long it would take once the explosions begin before the probe arrives to the Santee fleet at 1% light speed.
I'm pretty sure there was a moment a few episodes back. I cannot remember the number, but I believe that was mentioned. And I feel like it was
like 2 or 3 years, something like that.
No, I thought it was like 200 or 300 years.
200 or 300 years? No. That was what. No, what they said was, if we just sent a probe out now, it would take 398 years, or something like that. That's what they said. They didn't say. They didn't give an estimate.
All right, then maybe not. But 1% the speed of light, it makes me wonder. Like, I'm assuming that the Santee are moving at the speed of light, though, are they not?
That little paper sailboat's gonna be flying through the ocean.
Bruh. I don't know what that thing's gonna be doing. That thing's gonna be falling apart. Letters are gonna be coming off of the sides of it.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy. Yeah, that was my favorite scene as well, though. Saul talking to Will, trying to kind of like talk him out of that. Just yes.
Yeah.
What a tough goodbye, man. That was a rough one.
Yeah.
Any favorite lines from this episode?
I like the line Will says to Saul. He says, how many people get to say a true goodbye to a good friend? Like a one actual proper goodbye, which I thought that was a good line.
Yeah.
I thought that was just really when he says, if they do bring me back, I'm gonna miss you too, or something like that. I thought that was good, because I wasn't expecting this deep relationship between him and Saul, like that friendship there at the start of this season, and to see that kind of emerge after Jack dies was a special thing to see,
Yeah, that's for sure. Mine wasn't so much like a one-off line as it was the dialogue between Wade and Will, when Wade was trying to get him to sign that paper.
That was great too.
Yeah, I liked that one.
What specific? Oh, not a specific line, just like that whole.
Just that dialogue. I mean, it was a fairly short dialogue, where Wade was trying to get him to sign that, but Will kind of like returns a response around how, he does not feel any allegiance to humanity, but he's loyal to Jin or something like that. So,
what was the line that Wade says to Jin? When he's pretty much defending the fact that he believes he's the only person who can oversee this plan. He says, like, Aristotle says, or Socrates said this, and she said, well, Aristotle also believed that rocks fell because they were attracted, they love the earth, or something like that. Which I thought that was a good little back and forth.
That's hilarious. Did you Did you catch that that girl, the young like NPC girl from the game is Ye's daughter, Vera, as a young kid?
No, I did not catch that. Is that the case? Please rewind that.
Yeah, there is a short like scene
when she's in the house.
When she's in the house and she looks at the photo.
There it is. You passed it.
And this, she looks exactly.
Let's see this.
Exactly the same. Here she is.
Unreal.
We're at, what is this, like?
Unreal.
Yeah.
Let's see this.
28 minutes into the episode.
That's
totally her.
Oh yeah, that's the little girl.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, good catch.
Thanks. Every now and then I pick up on a small detail. I don't pick up the jokes that Ye gives out, but
I don't think
the photo I got.
I was like,
if anybody has figured that one out or cracked that code and didn't read the book, assuming that it was in the book, please let us know what you think it was.
Yeah. All right. Any other categories?
No, those are the ones. Is there any closing thoughts? Anything that you want to talk about the next episode? I'm kind of going into it with an open mind. I could come up with theories, but I do feel a little clueless. I mean, the theory I think is we're going to see a lot of things in action. I think we're going to see Will launched into space. Like that's got to take off.
Yes.
Dude, something's got to happen with Saul. Like, I feel like, we had Jack die. You had Jin, who's kind of had her moment. Augie's had her moment. Saul still hasn't had anything. I don't think we can leave this season without seeing something. So I think we're going to have to see something in the next episode.
Saul's going to emerge from an acid-tripped orgy, and he's going to have an epiphany of what Ye was talking about with this joke. I'm just kidding. But he is going to realize what it is, and that'll be where Saul leaves off. Auggie, she's going to go to a different country, but she's probably going to meet up with her family. Her family's going to be like, your work is too important, Mija. You need to get back. You know, I don't know. Who knows? I think Augie's going to be like revitalized with her family. Will's brain is going to be launched into space to some David Bowie music.
Oh,
and
Space Odyssey, come on.
Jin and Wade are going to go into cryo at some point in the episode. And then we're going to get a time skip at the very end of the episode of some sort. We're going to get some time, maybe 2 time skips in the next episode. We'll get like a 5-year time skip or a 3-year time. We'll get I don't know. We'll get a couple time skips if I had to guess. And then we'll know the fate of Ye, who I think will probably be dead.
I think Ye's going to be dead in the next episode. Whether or not it's at the very beginning of the episode, I'm not sure, but I do think she's going to die. And I feel like the cliffhanger that we're going to really have isn't going to necessarily just be like a time jump. I feel like it's going to be like Will waking up or like rain starting to fall again in his dream boat.
Oh, that would be cool. The rain starts to...
Yeah.
When Ye, this kind of a passing line, but I think on first watch, you probably take Ye's line to Saul where he says, how can you live with yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And she says, I won't have to live with it much longer.
Mm-hmm.
I think on first watch, you'd probably be like, oh, because she's an older lady. She's probably going to die like in the next 10, 15 years, But I think she was talking a little bit more soon. I think she was talking about dying like within a few days from when she was going to China. Now, why the hell would she take Collins with her if she was certain of that? I don't know. Because she knows that whoever's going with her is also going to die. So hopefully Collins got away, man, because I really like that dynamic with him and Clarence, but whatever.
I don't know that she would have known for certain that whoever was coming with her was bound to die as well, because she seemed pretty surprised by the fact that Tatiana was in touch with their lord.
You sure about that? Because she also didn't seem shocked. She also didn't deny the fact that she gave the order to kill Jack. So
yeah.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying I don't think she was anticipating Collins dying as well. Like I don't think she was anticipating Tatiana either. I think she was just like, look, I've played all my cards at this point. Like,
you don't think it wasn't a little selfish need? Like she just wanted one last conversation, one last buddy before she went to the grave?
I mean, it could have been. It could have been a selfish, desire to have somebody to talk to on the flight to your suicide. But
yeah,
I don't think he was intended. Assuming he is dead, I don't think he was intended to be a casualty of this situation at all.
Okay. Any other closing thoughts, Zach? Any other categories before I close this out?
No, that will do it for this episode. I'm looking forward to the next episode. Hopefully it's a little less depressing, but I'm sure it will be a lot more interesting, a lot better than this one already was.
Alrighty. Well, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for listening to our series on 3-body problem. We hope you're enjoying our coverage of it. We'll be back with episode 8, aka the finale of season 1, later this week at some point, and keeping an eye on some other shows for the next series that we cover. I want to hear what the feedback is on Dark Matter on Apple TV. Also a sci-fi series that just launched with Joel Edgerton, if I believe. And I want to know what the response to that is. So it's in the cards. It's in the cards.
I'm gonna have to take a look at it. Dark Matter, huh?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I don't know yet. I'm not committing, but we'll see. All right, Zach, to your outro, sir.
Alrighty. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of 3-Body Problem by Story Archives. You can find this podcast anywhere you find podcasts, Apple and Spotify podcasts primarily. You can visit us on YouTube at Soapbox Podcast Network. Email us at contact@soapbox.house. You can visit our website at soapbox.house. And we do have a link in the description below to sign up for our newsletter.
Alrighty. Until next time, y'all. Only advance.
Just do it intelligently.